She is Reform UK Councillor and co-leader of the Reform UK's Law and Order campaign, a rising star in Nigel Farage's party. Layla Cunningham. Good morning, Layla.
Hi, Kevin. Good to see you when the sun's up.
Yeah, I know. It's very unusual, very unusual. I'm sort of squinting here. Well, first of all, let's talk about the Caerphilly by-election for the Senate down there. Labour humiliation. That was, ever since the 1990s, that has been a Labour stronghold. Most of Wales, be it the local elections or be it the general elections, have always been a massive Labour stronghold. But I mean, Reform did well. Slight disappointment that you didn't win, but you did very well. But I think the story played Cymru, of course, win. But I think the story is this could be the beginning of the end of Labour in Wales, which is quite a seismic story. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Labour just lost a century-long grip on Caerphilly, a seat they've held since before the World War. I mean, for me, I think for Wales, it's a political earthquake. Because people who kept faith in Labour for generations, who trusted them to follow the values that Labour represents, they've had enough because they've been betrayed. And we may not have won the seat, Kevin, but we did win the argument. There was a lot of tactical voting against us.
And do you think when we come to well, the local elections in May and then going forward even the general election, I mean, I spoke to a Reform councillor in Swansea a couple of weeks ago because the local people were very upset that the kids' school had suddenly shipped in someone from the local mosque to teach them all about Islam. I'm talking about non-Muslim kids, and the parents hadn't been told. So a Reform councillor who represented the area came on, but I got to talking to her about Wales generally, and she was in no doubt that Reform potentially going forward could sweep the board in the fine country of Wales. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we transformed Welsh politics. You know, we went from 2% to 36%. That's the beginning of something. Or you know, Labour's vote completely collapsed because people are completely sick of being ignored by a party that really took voters' loyalty for granted. And you know, Caerphilly is a warning to Labour. The old red wall is crumbling.
What do you think it is, Layla, that you know, you would have thought that Labour voters, the idea of them switching to Reform, it's like the sort of technically like the polar opposite politically. Yeah. And yet, you know, in the red wall seats around the country, it seems that old school Labour voters are very attracted to Reform. Why do you think that is?
I think because we speak common sense. We know what they want. You know, they don't want mass immigration. They don't want their towns to change so much. They don't want illegal migrants coming in and then paying for it. They don't want to pay such high. They don't want to work hard and pay such high taxes. And like you say, send foreign aid. You know, 11.13 billion foreign aid. Foreign green aid and then pay for it. You know, don't forget it was Labour that brought in all the woke ideology. You know, a lot of them are white working class in Wales, and Labour said basically, if you're white working class, then you're too privileged for help, too privileged to get a civil service job. I think. And if they complain, Kevin, they're called racist. You know, they complain about people country and wanting to change the country, not wanting to assimilate. And if they say no, we don't want that, then Labour look them in the eye and say you're racist.
They don't. I think Labour don't seem to like so many of their own voters. They become a party of North London, not a party of the entire country. Let me ask you about this. Nigel Farage has signalled support for a Burka ban. In fact, he's in favour of something that I think most people would agree with. He's in favour of banning face coverings generally. I mean, you know, these Antifa left-wing demonstrators tend to wear them. You see them at the pro-Palestine marches. Half the protesters or the demonstrators have got these masks on. So there's a security issue there. So Nigel Farage, yes, a burqa ban, but also face bans generally. I'm asking you this as a representative of Reform, but also you're a Muslim. And of course, what needs to be borne in mind when we discuss this issue, people say, oh, well, you go kind of Western countries, you know, they don't understand. There's a lot of, there's quite a few Muslim countries, Islamic countries that have banned the burqa, Tunisia, for example. So where do you stand on the possibility or the proposal that we ban the burqa in Britain, Layla?
Yeah, I hate the burqa. It symbolises the erasure of women. And if we're serious about security, then no one should be covering their face in public, whether it's a burqa, a balaclava, a mask, and it should apply to all face coverings that conceal your identity. And that means motorbike helmets, hoods drawn to obscure faces, because we do have an issue now. Crime has become more brazen because people can cover their faces. And it should be an offence to cover your face without legitimate reason in a public place. And for me, police can issue fines or require you to uncover your face for ID purposes. You cannot identify suspects or witnesses if faces are hidden, and that undermines justice and policing. So yeah, I would be, in fact, like Nigel, in favour of banning burqas and all face coverings. We live in a country where, you know, you shouldn't be able to give evidence in court without showing your face, because identification matters, and you can't have justice if people can't be recognised.
On a religious basis, though, in terms of, I agree with that, actually. I mean, it's absolute common sense, you know. Identification is impossible if you can only see someone's eyes. But on a religious basis, you see, or a cultural basis, I'm uncomfortable about the idea of telling women what they can and can't wear. I get that. But I don't like what the burqa signifies, and I think maybe as a country we should take a stand on this as well. What I don't like about it is a signal that women are somehow second-class citizens, that they're inferior to men, they're subjugated by men. And a lot of Muslim women say, well, you know, you shouldn't tell me what to wear, I choose to do this. I don't really trust that. I mean, you know, you choose to do it, but on whose bidding? Why is it you do this? You do it because Muslim men want you to do it. And I don't like the fact that it signifies that women are somehow lower down the ladder to men. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the burqa is not, covering your face is not a religious requirement at all in Islam. In fact, the Quran just says you have to be modest. It's part of some cultures, you know. It's part of Wahhabism in Saudi Arabia that force you to do that. You see it in Afghanistan. Like you said, you don't see it in Tunisia. You don't really even see it in a lot of Middle Eastern countries as much as we see it in some towns here. And Kevin, I'm the same as you. I'm deeply wary of giving the state the power to decide what we can and can't wear, because once the government claims that power, it can't give it back. So one day it might be the burqa, the next day it might be something else.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to frame it, you know, about security. No one should cover their face in public, whether it's a balaclava, a mask, or a burqa.
Yeah, agreed.
We don't really want laws that police wardrobes.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I just don't like the burqa on a number of levels, for security reasons, but also for cultural reasons, also for reasons of equality of the sexes. I think the burqa is a sign that somehow or other the sexes are not equal. Women are inferior to men, and I don't like that.
Yeah, of course you're right, because when you see a man walking next to the woman, he's not covering his face.
Yeah.
It's the woman, and you're right. It's a form of oppression.
Yeah.
And it's got nothing to do with religion. It's got to do with certain cultures that really don't match our way of life. That feel that women should be almost not seen and erased, and that's not something we want in this country. And I know Muslim countries have also said that. So I would like to see a blanket ban on face coverings, because as a prosecutor, it's almost impossible to prosecute someone with their face covered.
Yeah, I should point out to the audience that Layla, among her many talents, is an excellent criminal barrister as well.
Kevin, can I just say, we have a serious problem in this country, because when I was a prosecutor, I had to prosecute someone in a burqa in the dock.
Did you?
Yes, and I asked the judge, can the lady remove can the defendant remove the burqa, face covering? And the judge told me no. These are religious sensitivities.
Oh God!
Will not doing it. So I had to prosecute a faceless person.
Yeah, so for all you know, it might not have even been the defendant. That is just absurd. That is absurd.
Yeah, absurd. But that's happening here now.
Yeah, well, that's wokery in our judiciary. That's another issue. We'll talk about that another day. Let's move on to the grooming gang inquiry. We're now hearing that after 5 months of delays, don't forget it was June when the Louise Casey report forced Keir Starmer reluctantly to concede we did need a national public inquiry to look into, to investigate the worst sexual scandal in British history. There are an estimated 250,000 victims, mostly young, white, vulnerable girls, many of them underage, and mostly their torturers, their sexual abusers, their rapists were gangs made up of Muslim men of Pakistani origin. Many of the victims, I've had a couple on my show, some of whom had been co-opted onto the inquiry on something called the Victims Panel. They have been quitting all week, 4 of them, one by one, because they say that it was clear the government was trying to widen the remit of the inquiry so that it did not focus on the ethnicity and the religion of the rape gang members, and the girls weren't having that. They also feel they've been ignored, treated with contempt, and so they've quit. Now, they can't find anyone to be the chairperson of this. They say that'll take them another few months, so it's going to go on until next year. The delays are becoming a scandal in themselves, aren't they?
Kevin, the Labour Party is the scandal within itself. This is a disgrace. These girls were failed once by the state, in particular Labour, when they were abused, and they're being failed again. 6 months after Baroness Casey's report said there must be an inquiry. No, how can you not know that the victims would want someone completely independent? They don't want the police who let them down, or the social services, someone from the social services to lead the inquiry. They want a judge, rightly so, not another insider who put it up.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, I know a couple of the girls very well, and they were furious that the 2 proposals as potential chair people, one was an ex-copper and one was an ex-social worker, and they're saying, no, these are, I'm not talking about specifically the candidates we're talking about, but they say these are the people who should be in the dock, not leading the inquiry. These are the people who turned their back on us: coppers, social workers, teachers, local politicians, mostly Labour politicians, hence Labour's reluctance to actually start this inquiry. And also, they're furious with the so-called safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips. And all 4 of these girls who quit this week say that they will happily return to the inquiry, but only on the basis that Jess Phillips goes. And she did something this week in the House of Commons when the girls said, all of them said, listen, they're widening the remit. They won't let us focus on the ethnicity of the gangs. The fact that they are mostly Muslim men of Pakistani origin. She stood up, Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister, supposed to be safeguarding the victims of this kind of horror, and said, no, we're not widening the remit. So the girls think that she stood up in the Commons and called them liars. And they say they will not return to the inquiry until she goes. I think she should go, don't you?
Of course she should go. It's all dither a delay. Every day that she delays, it sends a message that protecting their votes matters more than justice for these girls. And I read the Home Secretary's press release where she said one of the scope will be examining the ethnicity of the offenders. We know what the ethnicity of the offenders. It should be in the title. This should not be just grooming gangs. This should be Muslim Pakistani rape gangs inquiry and how the state was allowed to get away with it. We don't need to examine the ethnicity. We need to examine how the state covered it up. And everyone involved, from MPs, councillors, social services, police, need to be prosecuted. That's what they want. These victims were failed by a government that is too scared of losing votes to appoint a judge to expose the truth.
Yeah, they want a chairperson who will be favourable to Labour. They don't want to point the finger at Muslim men because they're keen on the Muslim vote. They're playing politics, and this is about 250,000 girls who were plied with drink, drugs, raped, tortured. This is about the victims, and the fact this government is playing politics with it, I think, is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. A quick last question. I haven't got too long, Layla. Great to talk to you as always. Thank you for joining me. Let's talk about, just briefly, the absurd one-in, one-out deal. I think the score so far is we've sent 46 migrants back to France in a scheme that started in August. They've sent 18 back to us. Only of the 46 we sent to France this week, we learned that one of them got back on an illegal dinghy and came back to Britain. So it is an absolute comical farce. David Lammy said yesterday, I am not kidding, he said, the one-in, one-out scheme is working a treat. I think he needs psychiatric help. But so ridiculous is this. The government is now this absolute farce, this waste of time, which is supposed to be a deterrent. Ever since it started, something like 11,000 migrants have crossed the channel illegally, so it's not deterring anyone. It's such a joke. They now are planning to expand it from France, of course, to Germany, Belgium and the Netherlands. What the hell are they thinking? This is ridiculous.
I mean, absolutely ridiculous. We basically sent that one who came back on a nice taxpayer-funded holiday to France. But they're not parcels to be traded. What message does that send? You know, that Britain's borders are up for negotiation. We shouldn't be bartering over who takes who. We should be stopping the boats, full stop. The one-in, one-out deal is just desperate diplomacy. We obviously can't rely on our neighbours to enforce our borders, so we have to secure our own. And that means leaving the ECHR, immediate detain and deport, and withdrawal from any treaty that stops us from doing it. And they're not willing to do any of that. We're a sovereign country. We shouldn't need permission from other countries to defend our coastline. And you know, Kevin, by the way, under Section 24 of the Immigration Act, it is actually illegal to enter our country. Do you know how many are prosecuted for illegal entry? 1%.
1%, yeah.
1%.
Yeah.
1%.
Well, we've taken.
So,
you'll know this as a lawyer, Layla. This nation, that Britain, has taken. People say, "Oh, you see, you don't understand. You see, once the migrants arrive in the country, once they manage to get onto Dover or Folkestone Beach, they're no longer breaking the law because they claim asylum, and that makes them legal." No. They have broken our laws. They've broken a very serious law. It's just that Britain has taken a political decision not to prosecute them and to allow them to make their asylum claims, and then, of course, we let them stay for 10 years and then start giving them benefits, and they cost us a fortune. But it is not, they do not become legal once they get here. That is political, not legal. And I say we should prosecute them, every single one of them.
Yeah, but, you know, the Home Office has basically deprioritised prosecution. They basically legalised illegal entry.
Yes, that's the term, yeah.
Basically, you know, so because once you're processed through the asylum system, you're right, it neutralises that offence of illegal entry.
Yeah.
So they become asylum seekers, and then everyone talks, and the narrative is, oh, you know, these are asylum seekers coming from war-torn countries. No, they're not. They're illegal criminals who are part of a massive gang, by the way, who's allowing them to come in, and a gang that is really attacking our country.
Yeah, and also I'd say, Layla, finally...
on who sent them in.
Yeah, finally, I think we should point out the gang, or the gangs of which you speak, have not been smashed. We haven't smashed any gangs. So you don't hear that anymore, do we? Smash the gangs didn't work, one in, one out didn't work, and the government just carries on, and more and more and more of them come across the channel. It is an ongoing sick joke, it really is. Layla, thank you very much for joining us. Have a lovely weekend. Good to talk. That's the brilliant Layla Cunningham, Reform UK councillor and co-leader of Reform UK's Law and Order campaign.